I used to believe that living alone was just a softer way of saying you'd been left behind. That it was what happened when plans failed, when love moved on, when the noise of life slowly closed its doors on you. For a long time, I didn't admit to anyone that I lived by myself. I'd say it quickly, casually, like it didn't matter. A small apartment, one set of keys, one toothbrush by the sink. I thought people heard loneliness in that sentence even when I didn't say it out loud. And maybe at first, they would have been right. There were nights when the walls felt too still, when the refrigerator hummed louder than my thoughts, when the silence sat beside me on the couch like an uninvited guest. I'm in my 60s now, and I've lived long enough to see how ideas change shape. What once felt like a failure slowly turned into a private kind of freedom. Not the loud Instagram version of freedom with beaches and cocktails, but the quiet kind that shows up early in the morning when you make coffee exactly the way you like it and nobody interrupts you. The kind that lets you breathe at your own pace. I didn't arrive at that understanding quickly. It took years of resisting it, of filling every empty hour with noise just to prove I was fine. It took mistakes, awkward attempts at relationships that were built more out of fear than love, and long conversations with myself that I couldn't escape because there was no one else in the room. There was a winter about 10 years ago that changed something in me. I remember it clearly because the power went out for almost a full day after an ice storm. No television, no phone charger, no distraction. Just me, a few candles, and the sound of wind brushing against the windows like a restless animal. I expected panic. I expected to feel abandoned by the world. Instead, I felt strangely calm. I made soup on a small gas stove, wrapped myself in an old blanket, and sat near the window watching the street disappear under white. I realized I wasn't waiting for someone to save me from my own life. I was already in it, breathing, capable, steady. That night didn't make me brave, but it made me honest. Living alone forces honesty on you. There's no audience for your moods, no one to perform strength for. When you're sad, you sit with it. When you're happy, there's no one to impress, so the happiness stays simple and clean. I began to notice how often I'd shaped myself around other people before. Their schedules, their opinions, their habits, even their silences. Alone, I started hearing my own preferences again. What music actually calmed me? Which foods made me feel lighter? What time of day my mind worked best? These sound like small discoveries, but they add up to something solid. They build a sense of home inside you, not just around you. Of course, there were evenings when the quiet still felt heavy. I won't pretend otherwise. There were birthdays when the phone didn't ring as much as I'd hoped, and holidays that echoed more than they sparkled. But something unexpected happened when I stopped treating those moments like emergencies. I stopped running from them. I'd make myself a proper dinner even if it was just for me. I'd light a candle. I'd sit at the table instead of eating over the sink. I learned that dignity doesn't require witnesses. Respecting your own life, even in its smallest form, changes the way loneliness behaves. It softens it. It turns it into space rather than emptiness. Over time, I started to understand that being alone and feeling lonely are not the same thing. They just get confused because they share the same silence. Loneliness feels like a door that won't open. Being alone feels like a room where you can finally hear your own footsteps. The difference isn't dramatic, it's quiet. It shows up in how you talk to yourself when no one is listening. Whether you call yourself forgotten or simply private. Whether you treat your days like leftovers or like something worth arranging carefully on a plate. I also learned that connection doesn't only live inside four walls. Some of the strongest bonds in my life exist outside my apartment door. The woman downstairs who waters my plants when I travel. The retired mailman who walks his dog past my window every morning and raises his hand like we share a secret. The barista who knows I like cinnamon on top even when I forget to ask. None of these people sit at my kitchen table, but they sit somewhere in my sense of belonging. I stopped measuring connection by how many chairs were filled in my living room and started measuring it by how often I felt seen in small, ordinary ways. There was a time when I thought love had to look like constant company. Someone breathing next to you in the dark. Someone arguing over what to watch. Someone leaving their shoes in the hallway. I don't think that anymore. Love, I've realized, also exists in the way you speak gently to yourself when you make a mistake. In the way you forgive your past for not knowing what you know now. In the way you allow your life to be imperfect without calling it wasted. I carry old regrets, like everyone does. Roads I didn't take. People I hurt or lost touch with. But I no longer use those memories as proof that I deserve a small life. They're just chapters, not verdicts. Sometimes younger people ask me if I'm afraid of growing old alone. I tell them the truth, not the polished version. I tell them that aging is strange no matter who shares your address. Bodies get quieter. Memories get louder. Friends move away or pass on. Fear visits everyone eventually. But I also tell them that there is a particular strength in knowing how to sit with yourself without trying to escape. If you can do that, you're never completely without company. You carry a familiar voice inside you, one that knows your whole story and doesn't interrupt when it gets messy. There's a moment most nights when I turn off the lights and stand by the window for a few seconds. The city hums in the distance. A car passes. Somewhere, someone laughs. Somewhere, someone argues. Somewhere, someone feels exactly the way I felt 30 years ago, convinced that silence means something has gone wrong. I wish I could tell them that a quiet room doesn't mean your life is empty. Sometimes it means it finally has enough space to belong to you. I won't pretend my way is the only way, or even the best way. It's just the one I've grown into. I've learned how to cook meals that last 3 days, how to talk to my reflection without flinching, how to fill a Sunday afternoon with a library book and feel rich, how to let memories come and go without begging them to stay. These aren't dramatic lessons. No one would write a movie about them. But they've stitched together a life that feels steady in my hands. So when people hear that I live alone, I no longer rush to explain it. I don't dress it up or apologize for it. I let the words stand the way my life stands now, quiet but firm. There are still moments when I miss certain voices. There are still chairs that stay empty. But there is also peace. There is control over my own time. There is the gentle relief of knowing that my days, however many remain, belong to me in a way they never did when I was trying to be everything for everyone else. If you're watching this and your home feels too quiet tonight, I won't insult you with easy optimism. Silence can hurt. It can bring old ghosts to the surface. It can remind you of what didn't work out. But it can also become a place where you finally hear yourself clearly. Not the version shaped by disappointment or fear, but the quieter voice underneath that still knows how to hope in small, durable ways. I live alone. That part is true, but the story doesn't end there. It never really did.